Joining me now is musician Patrick Allen Stone, whose band Budderside has a fantastic song out now called Voices. You can find the video for it on the Budderside YouTube channel, Budderside. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Oh, thanks, man. You set me up perfectly. Nobody spells it out right, There you did it. Good job.
Well, because, if you say Budderside, they could think of it the way you have it spelled, or they could think of, I always remember the old Dr. Seuss book, The Butter Battle book. So it could be, a reference to that. But there's a lot to talk about. But I feel like we need to start sort of at the focal point for the band. It was originally signed to Motorhead Music by the great Lemmy Kilmister, which is the perfect place to start because you had previously worked for the great Lemmy. So talk a little bit about Lemmy.
Yeah, I was super grateful and truly blessed to have had the opportunity to have gotten to be friends with all of those guys. And then the opportunity to tour and tech for them just kind of fell on my lap one day. And of course, I took the chance and went out with them, and we had, lots of fun, lots of memories, man. But they've always pushed me and my music, they would stop by my place and listen to my demos as I was recording back in the back of the house there. And they really encouraged me to write. And, Lemmy would take every opportunity he could to sit down with his lyrics and my lyrics, and we would share. And again, just completely surreal. It's not until now. I pinch myself more now and try to remind myself that it was all real because it was completely out of this world. But yeah, when I finally got the courage to go into the studio and record my own music, they got behind me 110%. Lemmy put me in the studio with Paul, his son, and we produced the first record, and off we went.
Yeah, I can see that sort of working both ways, where it's it's intimidating to have Lemmy around, but then at the same time, it's like if he thinks it's good enough that we should sit down in the studio, that's kind of a great vote of confidence. Interesting that we're talking because just a weekend before last, I was at the Rainbow, which was everybody knows was the Rainbow Bar and Grill was Lemmy's second home. I was there to meet up with Don Jameson, the comedian from that metal show, and of course. We took a picture there's a Lemmy statue there now. And it's so great because, people that went there during Lemmy's lifetime, you would find Lemmy there most of the time. He was actually there, playing video poker and stuff like that. And it's great that we still have this institution. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because the event I went there for was Steven Adler's band played. And Adler has said about your band, a real rock band that has the guts to deliver hard rock. So I think that's great because, probably almost everybody watching has Appetite for Destruction somewhere in their house, probably like me, multiple different formats. And to get endorsements from somebody like Adler, and then also to have Lemmy and the guys be so hands-on, just kind of talk about, before you even get to the actual music, just having people that really appreciate what you do.
Yeah, it's funny. We were just in the studio with our producer. We went back to record a few more songs, like the new batch, like Voices. We went back to that same producer, but he said something that was really cool. And he was like, I don't remember exactly what the phrase was, but he said, "How can you put others above you if you ever want to be better than them or as good as them?" But I've been blessed enough. Like when it comes to Steven Adler and Lemmy, guys like that they're not going to twist you and turn your emotions and your, they're not trying to put themselves on pedestals. Lemmy was just the most real and authentic guy. Anybody could approach him and talk to him. Talk about that rainbow corner. The funny thing is that wherever you went with Lemmy, that whole corner went with him. He would take slot machines or games. And it seems like every time we walked backstage, whether it was, in Massachusetts or whether it was in the Shrine in Los Angeles, he always had this. It looked like the corner at the Rainbow. You know what I mean? He loved that spot so much. He just brought the whole thing with him all the time. Jack and Coke, video poker, right there all the time. But yeah, Steven Adler, wow, another surreal experience. I look back at those pictures and I have to pinch myself again because I was on my bed as a little kid, bouncing up and down, trying to sing along to Paradise City, you know what I mean? And fast forward a bunch of years and a lot of vocal lessons later and pegging that audition and getting in with Steven and singing for him for quite some time. Again, a dream come true. And then, I've seen him go through a lot of singers and they mistreat him and they don't don't give him the respect that he really deserves. You know what I mean? The guy did it 110% full throttle, real rock star. You know what I mean? And the wheels came off, you know, but he's managed to, you know, somehow he got the thing to fly. He doesn't need wheels, you know what I mean? And now his career, I think, is taking off in a really great direction. I love the band that he's got now. They sound amazing. They're constantly playing and touring out. So I'm just really grateful that I've managed to keep that friendship alive. And Steven still really respects me, and we sing together and play together whenever we can. And yeah, when he gave us that shout out for the last record, just so appreciated. You know, I'm just full of appreciation for so many things. I'm such a grateful person, you know, just to be here, be alive, and be doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and you know, you're talking about sort of growing up, and you know, obviously listening to Guns N' Roses, and you know, listening to voices in some of the band's other songs. It's apparent that there's an appreciation for sort of the specifically, obviously rock and roll, but specifically there's like a hard rock feel. It's not like this song feels dated in any way, but you can kind of feel some of the influences. Who, apart from say Guns N' Roses, who are some of the bands that you were the most important to you, you know, even maybe when you were a kid, and then when you actually started playing music, who do you feel were what probably shaped the musician you ended up trying to become?
That Highway album cover, Angus Young, man, the way he just ran across the stage and just lit up the world. I just definitely wanted to be like him. AC/DC, Freddie Mercury too, the voice that just has nobody compares to that voice. So, you know, always wanting to sing that beautifully and connect with somebody with such a great voice has always been, you know, huge focus for me. I just want to be a great singer, and living up to, you know, just shooting for that, you know, is hopefully I land somewhere in the middle, you know. But so those two guys. But the cool thing about the band now is that we have so many influences from so many different directions, you know. Logan is so into like Bring Me the Horizon, and Sam is completely influenced by Jerry Cantrell and Alice in Chains, and you know, Jeff has he has one foot in retro and one foot on, you know, in modern rock as well. So there's just all of these influences clashing. My influences, Gabe's completely a Chili Peppers freak. So now when we get together and we write, it's not one-sided at all. All five of us are giving input 110%, and the outcome is something that's, like you just said, right there in the middle. You can feel the influences from so many different directions, and I think that's great. You know, I listen to like these interviews with Greta Van Fleet, and they say that they weren't influenced by Led Zeppelin, and I don't really understand that. But I don't think our sound pigeonholes us to sounding exactly like one band, like you just said. I think we're, again, just so grateful that we've melted this pot, and I think we're coming up with something really original now.
Yeah, when it comes to Greta Van Fleet, it's almost like you feel like there's, you know, record company people that are like, you can't say that you're influenced by Led Zeppelin, and it's like, you know, they're all kids, you know. I mean, they've been around for a few years, but they're like, well, we can't say Led Zeppelin, so we have to figure out something else. But it's just like, yeah, to embrace it, and I'm sure that it's not like all they ever did was listen to Led Zeppelin. And I loved sort of hearing, you know, you talking about the guys in the band, you know, because look, there's a lot to take away from Alice in Chains and Chili Peppers, but they sure don't sound like AC/DC. But if you have it all in your head and then you sit down to put the music together, that's where I think you can get a great sound. And you're sort of talking about all these bands. I was reading in the notes on the band, on your band on Budderside, that some of the bands that you've had the opportunity to open up for seems like a tall order. Motorhead, of course, but Slayer and Anthrax. And I feel like with Slayer, if like two notes in, it doesn't sound good, you're getting stuff thrown at you. So talk a little bit about getting those opportunities.
Again, Lemmy kicked open those doors. Being part of the Motorhead family just, you know, allowed us to walk into a realm that only so few dream about. But you know, the first taste of being on a bill with Slayer and Anthrax and those guys, Hatebreed included too, that was an intimidating one. But we were all on this motorboat cruise together, you know what I mean? And when you're all thrown on the same ship, again, just the guys are so real. And you know, if you're welcomed in by the heroes themselves, then the fans kind of followed suit. I don't think we had one negative comment. I mean, we were just so embraced and loved, and that was, you know, just it's crazy when you finally, you know, I have had some encounters with some rock stars and stuff, and people that I've looked up to that really kind of shattered my images of them, and I wish I'd never met them. But but those guys weren't it. Slayer, Anthrax,
Yeah,
Scott.
and believe me, I'm not looking for names, but I worked in television for a long time, and usually the people who you were disappointed, it wasn't like the biggest names. It wasn't like your Mount Rushmore stuff. A lot of times it's like, wait a minute, this guy's a dick. Like who does this guy think he is that he
Right.
gets to away with it? Whereas you're talking about Lemmy, you're talking about the guys in Anthrax and Slayer. Those guys are all great, and it's like I don't know. That's what I usually find, but it's got to be great, and especially one of those cruises. I can only imagine the support you would get. But there's something to be said for it. Just recently I was talking to an author who'd written a book about Prince, and Prince did these shows where he opened for the Rolling Stones at not the Forum, at the Coliseum here in LA, and there's like 90,000 people, and like right away they're like, we don't like this guy, and they're throwing stuff at him, and that's arguably one of like the geniuses of our century in terms of music. And so the idea that the band says that we like you, that's fine. My mom saw Jimi Hendrix open for the Monkees, and she was in like high school, and her and her friends are like, when is this guy playing guitar with his feet going to get off the stage? So
Right.
it's like it's great to get the endorsement, but it's like you still have to deliver, and to be able to deliver to people that are patiently waiting for Slayer, that's pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about the song Voices, because I know from just from the notes that I was given, and there's a lyric video for it, which I always find is a helpful way to listen to a song for the first time. Lyric videos don't distract you as much as, the videos that tell little stories, and then you start to think that must be what it's about, but you're just getting to actually see it. And my understanding is that the lyrics deal with your own personal struggles with addiction and the fact that you're sober now. So talk a little bit about that, and how having that for the focus of the song, sort of helped shape the way that Voices went.
Voices, it's crazy. There's a really deep, deep, deep meaning to this song that really scratches at some very personal things that I was going through at the time. And music's got that crazy killer way of like forming a story and a meaning for someone without knowing the true origin of where the lyrics came from. You know what I mean? True poet can connect with you without a true poet can make you think that he's talking about you when he's reciting his poetry, his or her poetry. So I try to hold on to that when I'm writing a song. And with this song in particular, you have to promise me something that we'll get together for another interview, and maybe we can really discuss the true nature and the stream underlying this song.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it definitely fed into the greatness and the epicness of the song. Epicness, is that even a word? But yes, the lyric videos is so cool. I love how we have a great marketing team that pushed us to do this way, and we're going to do this with every song that we've got coming out. We've got about 7 more songs coming out, one every 6 weeks, and we're going to do each one the same, so you really get acquainted with the words of the song, really find a relationship with the song before we release the video. And we have the official video for Voices is coming out this Friday. But of course, all of my life lessons and everything that I've been through and the emotion behind why I sing the way I do definitely comes through, and the band as well. All of our life experiences feed into each song, and you can't help but have that perspective that you've got from all of the things I've been through to channel every phrase. But this song it's funny because with like Spiritual Violence, there was this huge sense of like overcoming addiction and like the power of like, I don't know, I just felt so untouchable, and so it was a big victory. It seemed like a funny title for the record, Spiritual Violence. It almost sounds like it sounds like a battle that's you're losing, but it was this victory cry basically. And it's funny that now I've really settled into sobriety, and I really feel like I've found my own. And now I think I'm even more relatable with anyone, because now I'm really kind of, questioning my own mortality and like, what am I really doing here? And trying to really make sense of it all. It's really important to me. And Voices was really, it's a serenade to death. Really. It's a it's a farewell to this realm and and an invitation from the next. The voices in your head are really like these angels or maybe demons calling for you, and listening to them and finding that connection with where you're going after this world and what are we leaving behind, you know.
Yeah, and our video listeners are seeing a little bit of the lyric video. There's always these weird rules with YouTube where when you play music, you start to, even though I'm talking to you and it's your music, there's always like, wait a minute, you're playing music. Do you own it? And it turns into a whole thing. So I just sort of letting people see the visual while we're talking. And again, it's Budderside, Budderside, and that's where you find them on YouTube. So you're talking about how there's a number of songs that you're going to do sort of the same treatment with in terms of doing the lyric video. And my understanding is that this will all be for a third album. Is there a target date for when people will get that, or it'll just sort of depend on how the songs are received? Is the album done? Are you still working? Where are you at in terms of the third album?
We've got four of them are mixed and mastered, and we were so happy with them that we went back to the same producer to do 4 more. And my intention is to probably go back and do 4 more. I really want to deliver a 12-song record this time. I think the whole band does. But we're not putting any pressure on ourselves, and we're kind of allowing ourselves to be free to do our own thing. We have this plan ahead of us. We just really want to engage with our fans, and we really want to become a worldwide presence. So the best way that we see doing that is just really kind of giving you a left and a right hook. Every 6 weeks, we're going to give you something brand new. You're going to get a different taste of another story, another life lesson, another song. Every 6 weeks, you're going to get one from us from now on. And when that finally adds up to 12, I think we'll all put them we'll compile them together. Maybe we'll come out with something that a little earlier that has all of them on there, so you can get in on it before it's all out. So there's really a little bit more of a, an energy around like really wanting to get the record as a fan. But we're releasing one single at a time, and there's no B-sides anymore. There's no more fillers, there's no more. Every song has to really mean it. Every song has to be a hit, every song has to really nail it. We want to give there's so much competition now. Rock and roll is on this huge wave, this huge comeback. Concerts are coming back. Every pop artist out there, every rap artist is dying to be in a rock band right now. And it's all going in this direction. And there's just so much competition out there, and there's a lot of honest musicians spilling their hearts out. So if you want to be engaged with people that matter, and you want to matter to people, you've really got to give them something worth it, something honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that stressing the importance of, the album, obviously, that was such a focus in earlier decades. And, you can look at, a band like Aerosmith who have, these great albums from the 70s, like Rocks. But even like when I was a kid, like I thought that Pump album was practically like perfect. And you were talking about Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. I challenge anybody to point out the bad song on Appetite. And, look, you get albums more recently, and you do feel like the bands are, the thought is really, look, it works for some newer bands, especially to just focus on the songs. But when you can listen to it, and it doesn't have to be a concept record, that's fun once in a while. But when, the artist has sequenced it and they've actually put time into producing them, I think that that's really something to appreciate. And it's a lot harder to come by, the album that feels like an album, like, the ones that you used to get even 20, 30 years ago. So I like that there's the focus on that. But also this new model is really like, let's get the songs out there and sort of support things. The other thing you said was, the idea of concerts being back. Is the band getting a chance to perform live lately? Do you have anything coming up, or is that where are you at in terms of actually getting to do shows?
Yeah, well, we just had a run out to Rocklahoma. We played out there. That was amazing. Our first trip out to Rocklahoma, and we did a few shows surrounding that. So we're fresh back from a little road trip. We've got the Whiskey A Go Go coming up on Monday, so we're super excited about that. And there's a few other shows on the horizon, but we're really excited about this new album and what it's going to do for our kind of our genre and our our offers that will be coming in. We're really hoping for some really cool acts to reach out to us. We're befriending so many people in the industry right now. And we're just really looking for that solid, wonderful opportunity that's going to take us, farther than going out and beating our heads against the wall by ourselves when we're not really a famous act yet is something we're trying to avoid right now. But playing in LA and showing up for all of our friends and fan base there is just super exciting. So we're doing that at the Whiskey.
On Monday at the Whiskey. Well, yeah. And, the same weekend I was talking about that I was at the Rainbow, Quiet Riot were playing at the Whiskey. So I went over there after the fact. And, anybody who kind of wonders like, hey, what's the vibe for smaller venues? Are people going out? Are they ready to rock? Absolutely. People were, and I think Quiet Riot went on at like 11:15. And, it was a Saturday night actually it was a Sunday night, but it was Labor Day. So, basically it was a Saturday night. And, I hadn't been to the Whiskey in probably like 2 years, mostly because it was closed for a lot of that time. And it's great to see everybody turning out. And that's great that you guys have a show coming up there because, people are definitely hungry for rock, and I mean, there was stuff going on all over town that night, so I'm glad to hear it.
Shout out to Chuck Wright. Shout out to Chuck Wright. It was his birthday yesterday, and his last performance, Quiet Riot there. That
show was, yeah, because Rudy will be back in the band next year. And Sam Whitfield points out playing the Whiskey is always good. I mean, there's something very special about there. First of all, you think about the history of that place, but it's just so great. It's so compact, but I've seen a lot of great shows there, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are going to be there. That'll be fun. So if people want to keep tabs on you, you guys have a good social media game because it's just Budderside, Budderside, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And just look for it on YouTube because, a lot of times you'll talk to a band and it's like, well, on this one, we're Budderside official. On that one, we're Budderside music and, all that. So it's one-stop shopping Budderside, as I said, Budderside. And I'm looking forward to hearing more from the new album. And I'm glad we had a little time to talk today. And I hope we get a chance to talk again soon, Patrick.
Hey, Christian, thank you for having me, and this has been exciting and wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And check out the song Voices on their YouTube right now.